Good morning and a warm welcome to all to the webinar Future Trends in Information Technology. We extend a warm welcome to our esteemed guest speaker, Mr. Murlidhar Koteshwar, Professor Sneha Gokarnkar, Mrs. Rohini Jagdale, and Miss Marina Ghivarghese ma'am. With the grace of Almighty, let us begin. College is a place where a student develops his or her personality and various skills. This helps in escalating students' maturity levels. The college environment then becomes a major factor behind shaping students' mindset and enhances his or her perspective towards the world. So let's have a look at the infrastructure and environment of our college and also the various cultural events held in our college. Meet our Honorable Trustee, Mrs. Aarti Vissanji. Ma'am has a vision to give an exceptional progressive education to undergraduate students. Meet our Honorable Director, ma'am, Mrs. Jyoti Gaitonde. She is a living example of leadership. These are 4 self-financed degree courses available in our college: Information Technology, Biotechnology, Mass Media, and Computer Science. Our college has 2 air-conditioned auditoriums. One is on the ground floor and another is on the first floor. Many of our seminars, celebrations are conducted here. This is our food hub, which has good ambience and good quality food at pocket-friendly price. The place is always sanitized and hygienic. College has a huge playground for sport lovers. All our outdoor sports, event, fests are conducted here. As you can see in the picture, there is also a tennis court provided by our college. On the ground floor, we have a gymkhana for girls and boys. All our indoor games are played here like carom, chess, and many more. Oh, for book lovers, there is a huge library. Our vast library has a distinct section for IT-oriented books. This is our IT lab, which are fully fledged AC labs equipped with new high-end systems. We will be performing our practicals here. They are situated on the ground floor. This is the biotech lab situated at the second floor. This is the CS lab on the ground floor. As you can see in the picture, these are our spacious and well-maintained classrooms with bright lights at the Future in MVLU. These are our sports teams that represent our college in inter-sports competition: cricket, football, volleyball, kabaddi, boxing, and athletics. Our college has several events called college events. These are listed events and days celebrated last year, like Republic Day, Friendship Day, Teachers Day, Independence Day, cultural days, intra-sports events, matinee tadka, vibes, mridang, and many more. These are some intra-sports events in our college, like 100-meter running race, 400-meter relay, 50-meter marble and spoon, shot put, and sack race. This is our college fest organized by BMM, that is Matinee Tadka. It is a platform where we can broadcast our talents. Vibes is our inter-college fest. It is a platform for students to broadcast their talents. Contestants from different colleges participate here. Mridang, it is another platform where students get the opportunity to present their different talents. Students initiate widely as volunteers and participants. Some of the events are Bollywood quiz, pot breaking, sketching, fashion show, Garba disco night, and many more. As you can see in the picture, in the center we have our judge, and on her adjacent sides are a Mr. and Mrs. MVLU. Contestants on extreme corners are runner-ups of the fashion show event. There are various activities held in our college, like workshops, cybersecurity and ethical hacking, guidance for government competitive exams, role of IT in film industry, embedded system and robotics. These are some TY students who made their robotics project. Our college conducts Knowledge Sharing Week every academic year. These are some topics related to it, like data science, coffee meetings, how technology is changing education, cryptocurrency, and many more. Our college holds industrial visits every academic year in places like Karjat, Pune, Kerala, Pavai, and many more. Industrial visit at TTC WMA. Internships offered by our college. These are some placements offered by our college. There is also a Google certified course of digital marketing offered by our college. Our college has a certification center called MVCC. You can visit and explore more about it on its official website www.mvcec.com anytime you want. As you can see in the picture, these are the classrooms in the MVCC center. These are all the listed courses available in a MVCC like Java certification, Android certification, ethical hacking, cloud computing, project development, and many more. So that was all about the infrastructure of our college. Introducing our speaker, Mr. Muralidhar Koteshwar is an engineering professional with BTech degree from IIT Madras. He has nearly 3 decades of experience in leadership positions in multinational organizations like Tektronix, Tata Elxsi, Celestream Trilogy, Sony, and Avankia. He is a facilitator of the Executive Leadership Program of AICTE for Faculty of Engineering and Management Colleges. He is equally passionate about education and as a member of the board of trustees of the Art of Living Educational Trust, he was responsible for establishing over hundreds of educational institutes in India. He is currently the managing director of Mentor Cloud, an online mentoring platform, and also Onia Digital. Now, I would like to call upon the head of the IT department, Mrs. Sneha Gokarnikar, to say a few words before we begin the session.
Good morning. Welcome everyone. Warm welcome to all the participants and our guest of honor, all the students and staff for today's webinar. It is on future trends in information technology. First of all, I would like to express my gratitude to our college management which has given the opportunity to conduct the webinar. Also, I am thankful to our director ma'am, Mrs. Jyoti Gaitonde ma'am. She is the source of inspiration for all the events and activities in our college. Thank you, Muralidhar sir, for accepting our invitation and joining us today. Thank you, sir. So, without further ado, we will turn the time over to sir, and he will highlight on future trends and also the new upcoming trends in the travel, transport, and entertainment sectors, and also digital transformation, which is driving the change. So it will be a very interesting one, and hope you all will enjoy the session. Okay. Thank you all.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you for giving me this opportunity to share some knowledge with you. So, good morning, everyone. And in the next 45 to 50 minutes, I'll take you through a high-speed insight into future trends in information technology. There are so many fields that get affected by information technology, and therefore I'm just covering 3 or 4: learning, travel, transportation, entertainment. And hopefully the references that I give on the deck would also help you get insight into other sectors of the society that IT affects. So the core of the whole thing is digital transformation. You know, if you looked at the new era, it used to be called the information era, but the next era is the digital transformation era. Everything that we experience in our lives will have a digital component to it. But like I said, since we have paucity of time, I will focus on learning, entertainment, travel, and transportation. So let's look at digital transformation. Can you see this? Maybe some of you have not seen all of these equipment, but today's one smartphone has replaced all the equipment that you see on the screen today. One smartphone. Okay, that is the power of digital transformation. These are all analog systems. They're electronics themselves, but analog. And digital has completely transformed in terms of processing speed, in terms of capability of resolutions of images, speed of taking photographs and videos and so on. The whole thing is just one smartphone today. All right. Even the consumption of media has completely changed. There's a 460% growth in the last 10 years on mobile, on everything that people are consuming. Clear proof of digital transformation. Okay. And 4G and upcoming 5G and a lot of Internet of Things, all of this is driving that the way people are consuming, whether it's entertainment or learning or travel and transportation. Say, for example, if the smartphone wasn't there, you couldn't have had Uber and Ola. It needed maps, it needed GPS, and it needed real-time communication to be able to make that happen. And that's what's happened. Okay. And now digital payments. Right? I mean, you could not carry so much of money, so much of fear, but today, right, India leads the world in digital payments. And we are far ahead of all the other countries, far ahead. 25.5 billion transactions, much more than real-time transactions of USA, China, and UK combined. Okay, so this is also digital transformation. You're able to do everything digitally, live your life digitally. And we have actually taken a leap forward compared to a lot of other countries. So you're all, as students of information technology, in the right time, the right place, and if you have the right skills, you will definitely rule the world. Okay, so I want to take you to a talk by Arthur Clarke. He was a science fiction writer, and he was the one who originally dreamed about the satellite. And a scientist sitting in the Intercontinental Ballistic Missile Center in Russia converted the dream into the world's first satellite. And today, everything that we're experiencing is possible because of satellites. Okay, so now you saw what Arthur Clarke, basically Arthur Clarke was saying in that video that in the future, people will be able to speak to their computers, all right? And the computer will respond. And you are now seeing that when you look at Alexa or Siri or Echo, Amazon Echo, that's exactly what it's doing. You know, if you actually connect the latest IoT-based, you know, uh, if you look at it, uh, what Arthur Clarke was saying was that when if you look in the future, you will be able to talk to a computer and the computer will talk back to you, and we're seeing that happen today. He predicted it more than 40 years ago. Now, how did this happen? Do you think what we talk about the future today, will it happen? There is proof that it will happen. For example, Blockbuster used to rent out DVDs for you to watch videos in America, right? It used to rent out. So you see, it used to make a lot of money, $5 billion, then $6 billion. But by that time, Netflix came, and Netflix was pictures on the net on OTT platforms. That means not physical devices like the DVD, and you needed a DVD player, but you could just play it on your phone, a smartphone, or on the PC or laptop and connect it to your TV. Or if you had a smart TV, you could play on it. And by 2016, Blockbuster went bankrupt. Okay, so therefore, you know, there is a huge possibility that if there is disruption, or if there is a lot of companies that are doing a lot of digital research, you know, the future trends that we talk about will become reality. Okay, I'll give you an example. of what we call transportation or rides sharing services. What you see in this picture is New York in the year 1900. That is exactly 121 years ago in New York. Majority of the chariots there are driven by horses in 1900. Okay, there is just one electric car there. If you can see, there's just one car there in hundreds and hundreds of chariots driven by horses. They're all horse-driven chariots. This is, remember, the year 1900. But in just 13 years, all the horses got converted to cars, and there's just one horse there now in 13 years. So it's completely changed from horse-driven transport in 1900 to electric car-driven transport in 1913. So that was disruption, completely changed because of innovation in electricity, innovation in movement, and people found it much more cheaper and easier and cleaner to use an electric car. Okay. Now, same thing with telecommunications. Okay. In the year 2000, just 20 years ago, AT&T hired McKinsey and said, how many people will buy cell phones? They said in 15 years, about 900,000 people, that is about less than a million people, that is, 9 lakh people, less than 10 lakh people, that is 9 lakh people will use cell phones. What did they say? In 2000, they said by 2015, okay, but the number was 109 million by 2015. Okay, so they were far, far away from the disruption. So experts typically sometimes get their thing wrong. Now, how did this happen? It happened because of technology cost curves. So people say that, oh, a lot of technology is there, it's going to be very expensive. No, as more and more people use technology, the prices keep coming down, coming down. Like in computing, Moore's law, the transistor count, came down by 40, it went up by 41% a year. The data storage, okay, the hard disk price came down by 50% every 18 months. Pixels per dollar, it went down by 59% every year. Network capacity, 50% every 9 months. Lithium ion batteries that enables us to have a lot of power without necessarily having electric power, comes down by 20% every year. So therefore, the more advanced technology is available at a lower cost, people will adopt. If people don't adopt, then it's not a trend, it's not an usage in society. Okay, so you look at it's called the technology S-curve acceleration, right? If you look at a telephone, right, it must have taken about 25, 30 years for nearly 100% adoption in telephone. But today, if you look at tablets and smartphones, look at the curves. They're becoming narrower and narrower. It's taking within 1 year, within 1.5 years, adoption of smartphones, adoption of social media like Twitter. The number of days or months it takes for somebody to start adopting in a large scale has come down dramatically. It used to be for the telephone about 30, 40 years for it to reach 100% of the population. Today, to reach about 90% of the population, it has come down dramatically. I mean, eligible population, not small youngsters and old people and so on, eligible population. But that is what drives adoption of technology. Okay, so in education, for example, right, what is the future of education? Okay. Now, because a lot of these things are driven by technology, what you learn today may not be very relevant just in 5 years from now. And therefore, there are a few things that you must take care of. As far as the World Economic Forum is concerned, I will be sharing this deck with you so you can read in detail. But 4 or 5 things you must remember. Thinking out of the box, being very creative is a very important skill. And that skill is there with you at birth. But as you progress through school and college, unless you kept it active by doing something with your right brain, you can lose this skill. So I would actively encourage all of you to continue to use your right brain and not just logic and left brain. Okay, right brain means music, singing, crafting, origami, anything which is a little more creative in nature. Okay, so that's one. Second is technology skills, and you're in the right space, information technology. So learn definitely programming, learn AI, learn ML. All these are going to be very, very critical in the future because it's going to affect every aspect of our society. Interpersonal skills, learn how to speak, how to communicate, learn new languages, You never know. The whole world, the growth rate is low, but Indian growth rate is pretty high, and more than a significant percentage of our population is in the age group of 20 to 30. So if you get good language and interpersonal skills, you stand a good chance of getting jobs anywhere in the world. Or it can even be remote, but you'll be working for a Japanese company or a Korean company. Okay. And then, so what's going to change because of this? Personalized and self-paced learning, right? Already you're using YouTube, you're using a lot of other areas like daily motion videos or uh, apps like Vedantu or whatever to learn new things, Unacademy and so on, right? That will get to the next level because you need to have accelerate your learning. Okay. And to accelerate the learning, you'll find that people will start converting all the content into virtual reality and augmented reality. Already in many, many fields, for example, medical education, they've built so many models of the human body that you can actually conduct a surgery on a virtual body even before you go and learn the actual things, like simulation. In fact, it's a very important part of training programs from many, many decades when the equipment was very expensive. For example, air flight, right? Flight simulation. It was so difficult to make people actually learn flying on the fly inside the plane. So they had to mandatorily undergo a lot of flight simulation training, and very expensive dedicated flight simulators were built. And slowly it started getting into computers because the computer speed became high. And the same thing is going to happen in almost all the fields where virtual reality and augmented reality will happen. Again, I really hope that this video will play. So this is a video of an augmented reality makeup set. Okay, so you can't go to a place and try on everything and find that, for example, you wear a particular lipstick or something, you'll have to again clean your face to be able to again try a next shade. But just imagine if you're able to do augmented reality, okay, you can actually blend and do it on an empty face and it'll keep clearing faster and faster. And it's available today on on a mobile app. So it's available by a few companies and it costs some money. But with technology in the next 5 years, you'll be surprised that almost everyone will actually be doing this. They will not necessarily go to a place to do beauty shopping. They will simply do it online and then decide which is the right one for them and go to the next stage. Okay. And so augmented reality in education, augmented reality in shopping is going to be a reality very soon, in just about 5 years. Now, 3D printing.
Changing the way we produce objects, from tools and toys to clothing and even body parts. 3D printing is part of a process known as additive manufacturing, where an object is created by adding material layer by layer. Additive manufacturing allows designers to create complex parts for machines, airplanes, and cars at a fraction of the cost and time of standard means like forging, molding, and sculpting. Now, smaller, consumer-friendly 3D printers are bringing additive manufacturing to homes and businesses. The first step in 3D printing is to create a blueprint of the object you want to print. You can use modeling software like Blender to create your own designs, or you can visit websites like Thingiverse or Shapeways to find objects other users have 3D modeled. Once you have a finished design, it's time to send it to the printer. Some printers, like the MakerBot Replicator 2, have renewable bioplastic spooled in the back of the device, almost like a string. When the printer receives the data, it pulls the material through a tube, melts it, and deposits it to the plate where it instantly cools. As you can see, the 3D object is created through layering, where the printer will add one layer of the object at a time until you have a fully formed structure. The most common material used in 3D printing is plastic, but the use of some other materials allow for the creation of some pretty amazing products beyond simple tools and toys. 3D printing food is becoming very popular, and additive manufacturing has allowed for the creation of some pretty intricate treats. In the medical world, doctors are testing biomaterials for regenerative medicine. By using a patient's cells, doctors could 3D print small body parts like ears and noses. Some surgeons have even tested 3D printed organs for transplants. Recently, giant 3D printers in China printed 10 houses in just one day and had costs of less than $5,000 per house, proving just how cost and time efficient 3D.
In the future, right, travel, like, for example, now COVID has given us very good insight in remote working. So people will travel for fun. They may not travel for business as much. Okay, but so travel should become seamless. So a lot of people are working on what we call face recognition and digital passports, so that you don't have to really carry too many physical things. You just walk across as though it's like a borderless world. Okay, flying cars and transatlantic trains already are a reality, but economies of scale and wide adoption of 5G technologies will make it available in many more countries. Okay, underwater hotels. Okay, people are loving the underwater experience. People are finding out new materials that will stand for longer inside water. Space travel, you've already seen now for the first time in the history of space travel, commoners, not astronauts, commoners. Of course, it was very, very expensive, okay, more than a couple of $1 million, but they did go on space travel. So as the price comes down or as incomes rise, many more people will be able to do space travel. Okay. Now there are a few technologies that is enabling that. So let's see the first one. Okay. It's hyper personalization of transport. That means you want to go from place A to place B. Look at this drone travel.
Hey, I'm on vacation every single day 'cause I love my occupation. Hey, I'm on vacation. If you don't like your life, then you should go change it. Hey, I'm on vacation every single day 'cause I love my occupation. Hey, I'm on vacation every single day, every single day. Every single day, every single day. Every single day, every single day. Everybody sound like a lemon tree.
So hyper personalization today is a reality, but it calls for a lot of skills. So for it to become pervasive, it has to become much more simpler. It must be easy for everyone to travel, and a lot of research is happening in that area. Okay. So now, what about intercontinental space travel? Today, if you want to go from India to America, suppose you want to go for further studies or you have relatives there and you want to go for a holiday, it takes you 15 to 16 hours to travel. But, a new innovation by a company called SpaceX allows you to travel from India to Los Angeles or India to America in 1 hour. And they've tested it out, and just in about 10 years, look, of course, not 2, 3 years, in about 10 years, you will find that because of economies of scale, they'll make it happen. At a speed of 27,000 kilometers per hour. Today, the plane's maximum do 1,200. So he's looking at using space travel modules and go into space and come back into your location within half an hour. This is definitely the future of space in intercontinental, inter-country travel, because the prices are going to come down to equivalent to what it is today. For example, in about 45,000 rupees, you can go to London and back from Mumbai, and it'll be the same amount, but it's going to take 9 hours to go to London today. It'll take half an hour. It's like, going within the city itself today by train. That's how fast it's going to be. All right. So, and it's going to be a reality because, we've seen just 10 years back what it was, space travel, to 10 years now. So the next 10 years, you'll see this happening. Now, as far as ground traffic navigation is concerned, you're going to see, just like in 20, 30 years ago, you did not see people in lifts or elevators within buildings without a liftman. There was a person who would take you up and down. So you never ventured into a lift if there was nobody there. But in the last 15 years, if you look at a lot of places, buildings, you can simply enter into the lift and you can yourself navigate up and down. That's exactly what's going to happen in electric cars. Okay, in 2015, the CEO Rex Tillerson of a fuel company called ExxonMobil is a fuel company. It's got petrol, it's got diesel, it's got oils. He laughed at renewable energy and electric cars. In 2021, this year, Elon Musk, the founder of Tesla electric cars, his personal money is more than all of ExxonMobil. That's how rich he has become, because he has sold the highest number of cars in America today. Okay. And so if you look at it, the Tesla car has pioneered autopilot. And this is a minute's video of how autopilot works. Right? So this person is driving this car, okay, and the car is driving itself. He's simply sitting there because it's required legally, but the car is driving itself completely, whether it is stopping, looking at signals, turning around, and it's not future, it is today. Why it's going to be the future? Because today this car costs about $40,000, okay, or about 30 lakhs, all right? But in just about 5 to 10 years, the same technology will be available in a 5 to 6 lakh car, which almost all middle class households can afford. But will they buy it? No, they may not even need to buy it. Okay, I'll tell you why. Because just in 5 years to 10 years time, maximum 2030, a lot of these cars will be driving themselves. The law will be changed, at least in majority countries. It may take a little more time to come to India, but already in Europe, there are trucks now which are driving without a driver. It's constantly on the road and it's taking place. And a truck doesn't need that many stops because human beings need to take rest. Whereas a vehicle, if it's designed well, doesn't need to take rest. So this is a small video of a self-driven car, and you can see this person has not touched the accelerator or the brake or the steering in the last 3-4 minutes, and it's been driving at pretty good speeds. Of course, he has driven this. If you can see, it's about 35 miles per hour is what he's going, which is about 55-60 kilometers per hour, which is a pretty good speed. Okay, and it's accelerating pretty fast also. You can see those numbers, 0 and then so on, and it can park as well. So you see, this is something that is available today. This person who shared this video, he did it in his own car, and he's a person who bought a Tesla car. So why is it going to be the future? As we saw in the beginning, the technology cost curve has been constantly coming down. In 2010, right, it was 1191, and every year on an average it kept coming down. And in 2020, it's at 137, which is 90%, nearly 90% less than what it was exactly 10 years ago. And it's going to come down even more. And therefore, running an electric car with electric batteries is going to be 10 times cheaper than running an electric petrol or a diesel-based vehicle. So it's not purely due to technology or environment consciousness that people will shift to electric. It's because it's economic. It makes economic sense. And when solar batteries improve their efficiency, the charging also will no longer be electric through coal or nuclear power. It will be through solar, right? You look at this, it has come down dramatically. And so they're saying that by 2030, look at this curve here, the price constantly coming down, the cost of electric vehicles. By 2030, you'll have a great electric vehicle that can go 320 kilometers in $5,000, which is approximately 3.5 lakhs. That's it. That's it. An average entry-level car can go 320 kilometers in 10 years. So why will anybody buy any other car? Okay, so that's clearly going to happen just in the next 10 years. Okay, now even technology is changing so much that overall there's going to be a lot of transformation in trade, the way the world is buying and selling. Okay, there are 5 technologies that will transform how the world trades, and that's what the world is about. We already saw the first one, 3D printing. Okay, so supply chain shortages will come down. That means that suppose Elon Musk is successful in going to Mars, I don't think he'll be carrying too many things there. They'll just carry the designs and the raw materials and prepare using 3D printers, they'll prepare material there. Okay, Internet of Things, you've already seen it. Okay, for example, it's going to help send ships without having people on it. The ship will travel by itself completely, and it's already done. They've already tested out a few ships. It's only going to become more pervasive. Okay, and therefore problem with carrying a lot more water, a lot more food supplies will all dramatically come down. Okay. Then mobile connectivity, ultra fast mobile connectivity. So with 5G coming in and becoming all pervasive, South Korea, for example, the capital is completely 5G today. But slowly India is getting there. Okay. And blockchain, because blockchain is something that will make sure you can trust. So all the invoicing system, transfer of money, all of that, insurance, will all that happen with blockchain. So those of you who are interested, you must pursue blockchain and IoT. It's integral part of information technology. So they're saying, make sure that everybody can use it. And I think it will happen. Initially, like you said, smartphones, not everybody could afford it. But now, smartphones are affordable by everyone. So tech and cost of tech will come down dramatically over the next 10 years. Okay, and Japan has already worked on a smart city. So it's not, something that you cannot think of. It's building a futuristic smart city. And it's nice to see how our own cities will be 10 years from now. See, self-driving cars and robots, so there are no people there. Okay, hydrogen fuel cells, so very economic friendly. Solar energy, so absolutely low cost of power. Okay, it'll have 3 types of streets. One for pedestrians, so you can all constantly walk throughout the city. Another for people who want to be bicycles and electric scooters. And the third is self-driving vehicles. Okay. Autonomous electric shuttles will deliver goods. And homes will be made of wood to reduce carbon footprint. AI-powered sensors for monitoring residents' health. Robotic technologies for daily needs, cleaning, washing, cooking. Okay. And it's not a dream. Toyota is actually building it, and 360 citizens will move in there. Eventually, that city will house 2,000 people. So next time you plan to go to Japan, definitely make a plan to visit the city of the future, because by 2030, highly likely that our own cities could become like this. Okay. And future of entertainment, all right, you will find that today you already experienced a little bit of that future. I mean, who would have thought that we're going to be very comfortable in having movies launched not in theaters, but in our own homes? Okay, so you'll find that change happening. Okay, it'll be like a supermarket.
In this scenario, a few global digital platform companies have taken over the leading role in aggregation and distribution from national broadcasters. They control the entire TV and video market and have entered all steps along the value chain. Similar to large supermarkets, each of the digital platform companies offers an extensive range of global and national content, only differentiated by some exclusive productions and sports rights. Broadcasting as we know it today has disappeared, since video content is distributed over uniform demand for relevant content, like news or local formats, saved their existence. At the beginning of the market transformation process, consumers were overwhelmed by the quantity of content available and the proliferation of content providers. That confusion quickly evolved into frustration. Subsequently, global digital platform companies exploited their technological capabilities to develop smart selection and recommendation, supported by artificial intelligence. Advertising, as well as consumer relationships, has also shifted to the digital platforms. Broadcasters are dependent on the revenue shares from digital platform companies and cut off from direct paid content and advertising revenues. Advertising agencies and traders have disappeared, rendered irrelevant by digital platforms' direct models of ad trading. In this scenario, regulators did not take significant steps to monitor and control the digital platform companies' market strength. From the regulator's perspective, the digital platforms are doing a decent job in catering for different cultural tastes and in providing local quality content.
So you can see that that's going to be the future of entertainment. A lot of people are integrated. Everything is going to be online, gaming, all of that's happening. So with all of these future trends in these three areas that I spoke about, what are the skills that you need to have to prepare for the future? Technology skills, okay? Very important. So robotics, IoT, programming. Second, creativity. So like I said in the beginning,
what key skills or what key ingredients do we need now to be teaching our young people in order for them to be ready for the future job market? I would say that number one is technology. We need to make sure that our young people have got access to technology, can use it, can design it, can program. But the other things are like the human skills, what they need. They need to be collaborative, they need to be reflective thinkers, they need to have the creativity muscles so that they can problem solve.
all Nobel Prize winners are creative. So if you want to do something original, you have to be creative.
Having creative curriculums and teaching creativity is that what you're actually doing is enabling your learners to have transferable skills. And again, it's those skills that we're talking about: resilience, mastery, collaboration. This is what they need in order to thrive in absolutely any profession which they choose. And that means that we're giving them the opportunity to succeed. If we're not doing that, then we're just failing them. According to Professor Golden, it's that resilience. So do not keep going, keep mastering, keep having that kind of that can-do attitude. And finally, I think in terms of what is creativity is about giving students or having the chance to use your imagination and to be playful and to experiment. What we have learned from existing in this COVID world is that the people who will succeed are the ones who are creative, the ones that are thinking up new ideas, the ones who are questioning the status quo.
So if you want to be creative, you can be. Most of the startups today have been started by very young people and not necessarily from the top colleges. Many of them are from rural areas, remote colleges, and you can do it. Like, just do it. Nike learned this lesson, and sometime in 2010, they were selling directly to consumers only about $2.5 billion worldwide. But by 2021, in just 10 years, it has gone up to 40% of their sales. So you see, they're looking and leveraging the latest digital technologies that is working in their favor. Okay, and even in terms of all of you are engineers and you will eventually, working in IT, computer science, you will eventually get employed. You look at the employee of the future. In the past, it was like a normal office going and so on. It's going to change completely. You can work anytime, you can work anywhere, you can be focused on outputs, you can create your own ladder. It's going to completely change, right? So the more skills you have, the more knowledge you have, the more inquisitivity you have, the more creativity you have prepared for the future. Okay, there are disadvantages too, right? Our data is not private anymore. Look at it. Facial recognition data, Windows and Facebook takes it. Political views, they keep track of it in Facebook. Credit cards, almost all the pay, they know what payment you've done. Government IDs, IP addresses, your emails, everything is now available to everyone. So you better be a nice person, be very careful about your choice of words, be careful about your political ideologies, because unfortunately with digital, this is the price we have to pay. Our data, how much ever we want it to be private and secure, because still as long as corruption is there, it will always continue to be something that people can get hold of. So you got to be careful about it. Okay, and I want to end by saying that robots, which is a combination of IT, mechanical, electrical, AI, ML, almost all the technologies that you can dream of, today they've got such amazing capabilities. And a very nice, interesting South Indian has combined their dance with their South Indian music. So, it's the pioneering technology. Boston Dynamics is the company, and you will find that they'll start to play a very big role in our future. Thank you very much for your time. Thank you for listening. I'll be happy to answer any questions if you have. Of course, I have a lot more data, but paucity of time, I'll send as much as possible to your college and they can share that with you. Thank you very much again.
As the session has been done, you all can post your questions in the chat box of this meet session, which will be discussed and answered by our speaker, Mr. Mullidhar Koteshwar.
So Aryan is asking, can we do BTech after 12th Commerce? So, there is a program called BSc Computer Science from IIT Madras. It doesn't matter what you've studied, right? If you get through the program, you'll automatically get a BSc degree. 10,000 people applied last year. It's my college, so I know about it. And Professor Kamakoti, who drives the program, was a friend of mine, was saying that 10,000 people applied and about 1,000 got through. And because 9,000 people did not pass the exam. It was a tough exam. And the 1,000 people are doing their BSc now in the second year, right? So yeah, you have to have that knowledge. Why our data is not private anymore? That's a question that if you're an ethical hacker, you must answer. Because, if you learn hacking, as long as the data is there, you can always hack into it. Okay? So you have to learn otherwise highly advanced anti-hacking skills, encrypt everything, keep clean machines, keep deleting your digital track. So, but if you're living an honest life, you're very transparent, you don't have to worry. But you have to be careful. Because if you make a small mistake on the digital online, asking your friend, hey, which movie to visit, and the next minute you will get, oh, go and watch this movie, go watch that movie. People will start crowding you. So you got to be prepared for it. Cryptocurrency will take over normal currency only if the proof comes that cryptocurrency cannot be manipulated. Okay. Very recently, when Elon Musk tweeted something, the cryptocurrency went up and down. That means a human being can manipulate cryptocurrency, then it will not become prevalent, right? It should reach a stage where it cannot be manipulated by people's opinions, first thing. Second thing, the cost of mining is very high environmentally and monetarily. That cost should come down. Then cryptocurrency will slowly take over normal currency. How to become a software developer? Oh, that is something that it's an interesting question. There are enough and more YouTube videos if you don't want to do it through the college. There are enough and more people on Vedantu, on so many other platforms who teach you software programming. So definitely, you can go there and learn the basics, learn programming. And there are many platforms which are slightly paid, but they have mentors who can teach you, who can check your program, and who can tell you whether you're doing well or not. In future, only common currency. So it will take a long time because it's not purely a technical question, because a lot of politics is involved. For example, US is today using the US dollar as the main currency. In fact, one of the reasons why the Iraq war happened was because Iraq wanted to move away from the US dollar, and therefore America didn't want it, and so they came and captured Iraq. So it's not just a technical question, it's a political thing also. But eventually, if crypto becomes completely independent of politics and is very economically viable, it will take over. If our personal data, then what about our personal safety? Yes, Yusuf, very good question. You have to be very, very careful about your personal safety. So be very, very, watchful. Make sure that you don't put any controversial comments, and you will be safe, right? So be careful about that. That's also. Is digital area creating gap where people are not, using stocks? See, everything has plus and minus. Okay. Uh, Using crypto and day-to-day transaction will happen when more people accept crypto. There are countries that are beginning to accept crypto. El Salvador is one, Brazil is another. But until that happens, as of now in India, it is considered illegal. So did somebody, did take action on one of the crypto companies. So until it gets a status where it can be used in day-to-day transactions, we will still have to wait for the existing digital transactions.
I want to know scope of data science.
Very, very high scope, very good scope. The number of people who are creating data almost on a daily basis is in billions. So the science of understanding, analyzing, correcting, cleaning, communicating visually all the data so you can take some decisions is very, very powerful. So if you're wanting to pursue in data science, you can be sure of a very good career and very good salary as well. Omkar Yadav says, why bias is the biggest challenge while facing artificial intelligence? It's not, it's been the biggest challenge always, right? Prejudice is always there in the minds, right? So it depends on your education, it depends on your neighbors, your support system. So you will end up growing with challenge, and the world will keep constantly challenging your bias. So therefore, the governments that are very careful, they have to take care that bias doesn't creep into policies relating to AI. So until that happens, you will have to face these challenges. How to become a web developer? Keshav, again, there are many, many online platforms. You can go join any one of them. Some are free, some are paid, and then you can definitely learn basics of web programming. So, Yusuf, it's not a very straightforward answer. Is there a way to develop a software that prevents third-party interruption? China has successfully done this, but they've not developed a software. They've simply isolated their network from the rest of the world. Okay, they're completely isolated. So you can't have WhatsApp there. You can only have software that allows the government to check what is being done. All right, so that's the only way. So you have to decide. Freedom comes at a cost. So Web 3.0 is what we spoke about now, right? So Web 3.0 is everything happens in a very integrated way. For example, you don't apply to a company for hiring them, for getting hired. You simply keep doing your work, you put your portfolio online, and there'll be bots that will growing all over. And the moment it looks into your profile and so on, it automatically requests you to come for an interview. Okay, so that's one. The second one is IoT. So a lot of navigation devices, all the cars, the transportation is all on its own auto navigation. So the web enables all of that. Drones that will be flying, right? Supply to you food that you order, Swiggy. It will no longer come by a human being delivering to you. It will come in a drone onto your apartment complex at one particular place. It will land there. So these are all things that will happen with Web 3.0. Do you think there'll be more personal device technology after mobile phone? Dhruv Dagla? Yes, in fact, you could have wearable devices. You could have spectacles that will help you do a lot of things. So a lot of wearable devices will come and a lot of integrated devices will come, nano devices, which you can ingest into your body. And that will become safe after clinical trials. So Dhruv Dagla, yes, there will be a lot more personal dedicated devices to help you. For example, there could be a device which is internal GPS. So you don't have to use Google Maps, you don't have to ask anyone for directions, right? That device will internally in your ears tell you, go right, go left. You just have to tell it where I want to go, and it will tell you that. That can happen just in the next few years. So Nishan says some nation use spyware to cheat another nation. Why are they doing? Oh, that I don't have an answer. Why are they doing? I don't have an answer. How they are doing? Yes, they are doing. Are they doing it? Yes, they are doing it. Why they are doing? That's the future war. Future war is information war. So that's why we have to have brilliant people like you to prevent all that cheating happening. So more you learn about hacking, more you learn about development, more you learn about prevention of attacks, denial of service attacks, it's good for you and for the nation. So I know our country has developed a lot of such people. Many of them are under Z security, and they're taking care that we don't get hit badly. Can AI replace humans? AI can judge. See, AI is again intelligence given by human beings only. Okay, so therefore, as long as the government policy has not yet been incorporated to AI, it will take time. But the moment the government comes out with a very clear policy, and they're working on it. For example, the legal framework today is not yet completely computerized with AI and ML. But there's a very big task force working on it. They're looking at all the case laws of the constitution. They're looking at all the judgments in the last 75 years. They're feeding it to an IBM Watson computer, and they're trying to see whether all the new ones are comparable. And then they'll try introducing that in the court. And when that starts working, then AI as a policy will start getting into the real world. BSc IT and BSc CS the same. Right, so IT is the application of computing knowledge to the real world. Computer science is a little more original science, so you more to do with algorithms, more to do with data science, and so on. So in one sense, it's the computer itself, but in the other sense, BSc IT is more about application, and computer science is more about the theory and the algorithms and so on. So if you're more like a scientist, then you should go after the CS. But if you're more like, you like to see how IT can be applied in the real world in the various fields, education, travel, transportation, then IT is a better field.
I think, yeah, we have answered almost majority of questions.
Both have same weightage. It all depends on the final application, right? It's not a weightage concept. It's a final application. Suppose somebody wants, it's very, very critical to have a computer science person because they're looking for new algorithms. They will pay a much more money than an IT person. But suppose somebody wants to apply IT in a trade or a commerce field where they can earn a lot more money because of IT, then the IT person will be paid more money. So it depends on who is needing that expertise. So in that sense, the weightage will be different in the area. So the person who wants application of IT, he or she will not employ a CS person because he doesn't want research done. Research is already done. He needs somebody who knows the language who can apply. Nishan says IIT data science online distance learning. Yeah, that's good. It's very nice because I know the people there and they're very strict with their evaluation. So even though it's online, if you're not good, they won't clear you. If you're good, they'll be happy to have you and give you the portion that you studied in IIT, right? Data science in IIT.
Yeah. Hello, sir. Yeah, it was a wonderful session, sir. And
thank you.
Thank you for sharing insightful information regarding many topics related to IT, like Internet of Things, 3D printing, space technology, and how using the space technology traveling to intercontinental is made easier. And then blockchain technology also you spoke, and also in future, if we have to move into the digital era, then what are the main skills we require? So you spoke about that also, like main thing is technology skills we have to improve, and then the creativity has to be developed. So students will inculcate in their future studies all these things, and they will focus more on the topics which are told over here, so that it will helpful for them for further studies and while selecting the electives or topics and other things. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, Professor.
Good afternoon. I'm here with the task of expressing a vote of thanks. At the outside, a heartfelt thank you to Muraridhar sir. Instead, it was a very enriching and learning experience. We extend our sincere thanks and appreciation for a valuable time and insights. I would like to thank all the teaching staff of our IT department who made this insightful webinar possible. And lastly, all the students who have participated with the full interest made this webinar a lively session. A huge thanks to all of you. It was a great pleasure. Have a great day ahead. Thank you.
Yes, we have done with the session. Before wrap up, hope you all enjoyed the session. Thank you everyone for joining us, and hope you all will be there in the next session also. Okay. Thank you all. Thank you once again.